Hello, my friends. This is part 2 on 43 vibration in the charts of cult leaders. The first cult leader we're going to look at is Charles Manson, and here is his 43 vibration chart. All 4 cult leaders have AA data. It's from a birth certificate, and Charles Manson's born at 4:40 p.m., so it's not on the hour or half hour. This is the kind of birth time we love to have. And look at this amazing T-square. He has a Mercury-Saturn conjunction at 5 and 8 degrees of Virgo. Okay, so 5 and 8. Directly opposite Saturn is Jupiter, also at 5. So Jupiter's at 5 Pisces, Saturn's at 5 Virgo, Mercury's at 8 Virgo, and Mars is at 7 Sag. The whole thing is spreading, 3 degrees, from 5 to 8 degrees. Extremely strong T-square involving 4 planets. Now, I also put Ceres in the charts. The reason is I happen to notice that Ceres shows up very strong in most of the charts. So it's in there as well. But even if we leave Ceres out, we have a 4-planet conjunction. Uranus, Saturn, Mercury, Sun, spreading 11 degrees. Wow. 4-planet conjunctions are extremely powerful. And he's going to have, patterns built off this because of all these squares, these fractal patterns coming off it. Wow. So 4-planet conjunction, 4 planets also involved in the T-square, Mercury, Saturn, Mars, Jupiter. The 4-planet conjunctions, Uranus, Saturn, Mercury, Sun, and Ceres is in there as well. Okay, huge pattern. The planets are interesting. They're not, there is Saturn. Uranus is a little bit tense. But anyway, those are the planets involved. Let's look at the next chart. Next one we'll look at is Jim Jones. What? It looks strikingly similar. Both Jim Jones and Charles Manson have huge T-squares in 43 vibe. What's the probability of that? And they're huge. We have Mars and Neptune at 8 and 10 degrees. Jupiter's at 8 degrees. So there's an exact Jupiter-Neptune opposition, and Pluto's at 8 degrees. The Jupiter, Neptune, and Pluto are all at 8 degrees. This is crazy exact. And then Saturn's at 7 degrees. 4 of the planets all within 1 degree, 7 or 8 degrees. And then also very close, Mars is at 10. Mercury's back here at 4. So Mars is aspecting some of the planets. Mercury's aspecting Saturn and Sun especially. And there's that Ceres again showing up. So we're noticing similar planets, Mercury and Saturn and Ceres and Jupiter, similar planets, similar configuration. They're not born anywhere near each other. Charles Manson born in 1934. Jim Jones 3 years earlier. Now, Jim Jones's time is on the hour, 10 p.m. It's from a birth certificate, it's on the hour. That means when we're looking at things like the moon, the position may be not completely accurate because we're up in the 43 vibe. But for these planets, it's not going to make much difference if the birth time's off 5 or 10 minutes. Wow. This is really amazing. So just superficially, right off the bat, superficially, just look at the charts. You don't have to go digging. 2 out of the 4, very, very clear and straightforward. So, what we're seeing are conjunctions, oppositions, and squares. Now, we did not go into this, identifying exactly what aspects would occur. We just expected strong planetary configurations, but amazing consistency. And that I went directly to 43 vibe expecting that, I shouldn't say expecting, but guessing that it might be important. So we're already feeling like we're getting some confirmation. Let's look at the third one, Joseph DeMambro. Now, not surprisingly, because you never come up with a simple formula that works for everyone, the 43 vibe was not conspicuous for Demambro. I can show it to you, but you can pull it up yourself. There's his date and time and place of birth. But he doesn't have conspicuous patterns. So what do? Okay, our rule is not working. We think of, maybe it's midpoint structures. That was not involved. I'm not going to take you through all the things that didn't work. This is already going to be a series of videos. If I take you through all that, this will go on for all day. So let's just see what I did find. I thought of squaring it, 43 times 43. Why? Because squaring a vibration is one of the principles of vibrational astrology. It takes that vibration, makes it more internal, more at a purely mental and emotional level, and kind of very intricate and sophisticated in the way that vibration works. So we go up to 43 vibration, 43 times 43, which is 1849. So 43 times 43 equals 1,849. Oh my God. What the heck? 4 planets within 4 degrees. That's stunning. That doesn't happen very often. And you have Neptune, Pluto, Saturn, Sun. There's that Saturn again. We're seeing already some similar kinds of planets. And then he has 5 planets. Uranus is not far away. From 26 degrees of Aquarius to 5. Pisces is 9 degrees. 5 planets within 9 degrees. And 4 of them within 4 degrees. Huge, 43 times 43. And this big trine, which you've noticed already, of Mercury and Jupiter trine those 4. The Neptune, Pluto, Saturn, and Sun. And especially the 3 of them, Pluto, Saturn, and Sun, are all at 5 degrees. This is all at 5 and early 6 degrees. Wow. And you see how thick those lines are. The Mercury, Jupiter. So that means if we triple this vibration, 1849 times 3, we're probably going to see another huge conjunction thing going on. So Demambro, his 43 times 43, and the overtones of it, as if that's not enough, when we triple it, there's going to be tons of aspects. All 3 people have stunningly huge configurations of many planets, either in hard aspect in 43 or conjunction in 43 times 43. Possibly also this trine is involved as well. Wow, it's just standing out beautifully. Now let's go to the 4th person. I mean, it's really amazing. You think to yourself, oh, I bet 43 vibe is involved, and you see some of the most clear, sharpest planetary configurations you ever see. Now, just to dig in a little deeper before we go to the 4th person, if we go back to Charles Manson, we can simplify our rules. Maybe this is just ways of playing with your model. Let me go back to Charles Manson's chart. If I multiply 43 times 4, these planets will all be conjunct. It's difficult to predict how they're going to spread, so we'll just do it. Because maybe I can make a set of rules that the planets are just maybe 4 or more planets conjunct in 43 times 4 or 43 times 43. It's another way of stating the rules, and kind of a simple way where you have only one aspect, conjunctions. So a lot of times we play with the way that we've specified the model and explain it in different ways and have alternative models. This is part of the process of building models. When you look at hurricane paths, like here in the United States, a lot of hurricanes coming in off the Caribbean islands and then up the east coast or west coast of Florida. The meteorologists give you many hurricane paths. according to different models. They're weighting different variables differently, including some variables. They're not entirely 100% sure exactly which model is best. That's called good science. You build models and gradually make them better. So you don't have to be stuck with one model. Let's try multiplying the 43 times 4 is 172. And do we have 4 planets that are conjunct? We have Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, and Mercury all within, let's see, 9 plus 3, 12 degrees. All within almost 13 degrees. Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Mercury, we allow a 16-degree orb. So that's cool. That's another way we could think of our formula. We can say it's a T-square in 43, or we could say it's a 4 or more planets conjunct in the 43 times 4 vibe. We're playing around with different ways of expressing the model. If you want to make discoveries in astrology, you want to figure out how astrology really works, rather than just assume that the rules you use, are accurate or whatever, I'm showing you how to do it, okay? I gave you those 3 principles in the first video in the series, and now we're seeing hands-on the ways that you play with your model. Now let's do the same thing for Jim Jones. He also has a huge T-square in the 43 vibe. If we multiply 43 times 4 and get that 172 chart, what do we have? 6 objects, starting with Ceres through Mars. Ceres, I'm calling it an object because Ceres, is not classified as a planet. It's a minor planet, they sometimes call it, whatever. Anyway, you have Ceres, Saturn, Jupiter, Pluto, Neptune, Mars, spreading from 26 Aries to 10 Taurus. That's 14 degrees. Actually, it's a little under 14 degrees, but 13 and a half degrees. 5 planets plus Ceres, all within the 16-degree orb that we allow. Oh my God. So we can say that our formula, our astro signature or model, well, you can use any of those words, is 4 or more planets conjunct in 172 vibe or in 43 times 43 vibe, whatever that number was. I can't remember. What was 43 times 43? 1849. These rules sound crazy to people. Like the 1,849 vibration is related to being a cult leader. I mean, when people hear this, even astrologers, they think, well, you're just all over the place, man. You're just fishing around for anything. Actually, I'm not. We went directly to it. This vibrational astrology is a whole different world. Okay. So the rule that works for 2 of the cult leaders is 4 or more planets conjunct in 43 times 4 vibe, and for the third person, it's 4 or more planets conjunct in 43 times 43 times 3. Let me see, if I go back to Namambro, actually, it's also 43 times 43. In fact, he's got 5 planets conjunct in 43 times 43. So if I multiply by 3, I'll probably get another one. But he also has it in 43 times 43. So what I said here is not completely accurate in this last sentence. We can say the rule is 4 planets conjunct in 43 times 43 or 43 times 43. We don't have to say 43 times 43 times 3 because it's already there in the 43 times 43. Fairly simple rule, pretty elegant. This is what I meant by the 3 rules that I gave in part 1 of the series. It's consistent. It's just 4 or more planets conjunct. Simple idea. In 2 possible vibrations. Both vibrations built on 43. It's theoretically makes sense. Not only does it make sense theoretically, it's what I started with before I even looked at the data. Before I looked at the charts, I thought maybe 43. Okay. And what was our third rule? The third rule is, we go all the way back here, that the model works in every case. Okay, I've got one more. I got 4 cases. And I left this fourth one for last because it required the most playing around. I'm going to have to step outside this beautiful, simple formula, make it a little more complicated in order to explain the fourth person. But let's summarize what we have. I took some time to lay out what I saw with the first 3 people, to make it very clear to myself. So out of the first 3 people, they have Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn. Remember when we're seeing similar planets? I laid this whole thing out and color-coded it so I could see clearly what's going on. All 3 people have Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn in 43 vibe or 43 times 43 vibe. 2 of them also have Mars in Ceres, and 2 of them have Neptune and Pluto. So to look this over, we have in 43 vibe Uranus, Ceres, Saturn, Mercury, Sun. In yellow are the big 4. So 3 of those 4 are conjunct, and the fourth one is oppositionate. Let's look at that chart just to show you what I'm talking about. If we go back to Charles Manson's 43 vibe, there's the Sun, Mercury, and Saturn between 5 and 12 degrees, all within orb of opposition Jupiter. So those 4 planets, Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn, appear conjunct or opposition in Charles Manson's chart. And the Sun and the Mercury and Saturn are conjunct in Jim Jones's chart, and they're square Jupiter. So we're seeing these same planets show up over and over again. Okay, so you got the idea. I just kind of mapped it all out. We're looking at 8 planets, actually 7 planets in series. Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, and Saturn occurring the most often. Mars and Ceres also showing up sometimes, and Neptune and Pluto showing up sometimes. That's the bottom line of the planets. We are not seeing what? We're not seeing Moon. We're not seeing Venus. We're not seeing Uranus or those 3. The other planets are there. So we have aspects and we have planets in those aspects that are occurring. Now, the fourth person. And he does not fit the rules we have so far, so we have to add a new rule. Either we're going to have to say, oh, we only got 3 out of 4, or we're going to have to add some new rules. Let's see what the new rules are, and then we'll decide, is it worth adding another rule to get it to fit all 4? So Marshall Applewhite does not have a strong planetary configuration in 43 or in 43 times 43. He does not fit. We might have to settle for 3 out of 4. It's not terrible. It's not too bad. There's endless numbers of things we could look at to explain what's going on with Marshall Applewhite. Fixed stars, asteroids. We can go on and on and on. Well, one of the next ideas that we use in vibrational astrology, one is to look at various overtones multiplied by 2 and 3. That didn't seem to help a whole lot with Marshall Applewhite. The other is midpoint structures, especially what we call supersymmetry, which are these very tightly connected midpoint structures. They're like the second most important thing. Most important thing is aspects. Next most important is midpoints, supersymmetry patterns. And supersymmetry patterns can be just as powerful as aspect patterns. They require the right environment to, you might say, nurture them. But once they get triggered and inspired, they can lead to exceptional expression of the planets. So let's look at the midpoint structures. Well, here they are. I'm in the Sirius software, and I just selected midpoint structures. I set the orb to 1.5 degrees, smaller than the 2.5 degrees using the Eberton system, 1.5 degree orb, and only conjunctions and oppositions. And there are 3 of them: Pluto at Venus, Saturn, midpoint; Mars at Mercury, Jupiter; and Jupiter at Sun, Venus, with very, very tiny orbs. However, they're not sharing a lot of planets. Supersymmetry happens with specific rules about having the same planets. Here we have Venus, Saturn, Pluto. Here Mercury, Mars, Jupiter. Here Sun, Venus, Jupiter. There's what? Jupiter. None. I see Jupiter twice. I see Venus twice. Supersymmetry happens when 2 of the 3 planets are the same in 2 midpoint structures. So this is Mercury, Mars, Jupiter. If this one had Mercury, Mars, and some other planet, that would be supersymmetry. No supersymmetry. That's not working. Now, if we add series, why do we want to add series? Because we saw series showing up in the aspect patterns. If we add midpoints to series, we do see a supersymmetry pattern. It's only 2 midpoints, but Ceres is at Mercury, Mars. Mars is at Mercury, Jupiter. The orbs here are 11 minutes and 8 minutes, very tiny orbs. So there's a little bit of supersymmetry. I say a little bit because it's only 2 midpoint structures. If there's a 3rd midpoint structure, I'm double checking to make sure there isn't one. I've got Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Ceres. Mercury, Mars, Jupiter. No, I'm not seeing, unless I'm missing it, I'm not seeing 2 of those. If 2 of those objects, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, and Ceres, show up in any other midpoint structure, especially a tight one, this one's only 6 minutes, 4 minutes, I would have a 3rd one. You get 3, 4, 5 of these, and you have a powerful supersymmetry. So far, not very impressive. I have supersymmetry, but it's only 2 midpoint structures. We're looking at a cult leader. We're expecting something dramatic, just like we saw with those T-squares and the 43 times 43 of DeMambro. Oh my God, those are like crazy strong. Later we can run a statistical analysis with a control group, and it's going to be extremely clear. I mean, it's obvious that these are unusual patterns. This is not, it's good, but we're struggling. Maybe we're going to have to give up. Maybe we're not going to find anything really good. So here I say the supersymmetry pattern for Marshall-Applewhite is not extraordinary because there are only 2 midpoint structures with 4 objects, 3 planets in series. On the positive side, the orbs are very small. That's good. 8 minutes, 11 minutes. I love that. That's beautiful. But it's just not a big enough pattern. It looks promising, but not great. So we haven't found something stunning yet. I kept playing with this, and I found something that I think is interesting, more interesting than this, which is another detail. These midpoint structures are made of planets that are nearly an exact golden mean aspect to each other. Golden mean aspects, and we call golden mean midpoint structures, especially golden mean midpoint structures, and this creates both golden mean aspects and golden mean midpoint structures. We know from other research they're extremely important at times. I've got a series of videos on golden mean midpoint structures. I think it's 5 videos. It's impressive. So this is another thing that we need to look at. What we find out is that this whole thing is a striking golden mean configuration. That's why I went into this detailed research on golden means. Because of this, I wanted to understand golden mean aspects. And I made another video, maybe it's a 2-part series, I don't remember, on golden mean aspects. I made that recently as well, because I looked at Landscheidt's work, and Linda Berry's done some work on it, and work that I've done on it, and analyzed it thoroughly, made this huge spreadsheet to figure out what the golden mean aspects are, because there's different ideas about what they are. But one thing we all agree about is that the 137.5 degree aspect is the primary one. All the golden mean aspects are derived from it. It is the fundamental central one. It's also used in biology. They call it the golden angle. I like that term, golden angle, that's used in biology. The golden angle, 137.5 degrees. It's, what is it, 137 degrees, 29 minutes and 28 seconds or something. Very close to being 137.5 degrees. And that Mars, here's the 43 vibration chart of Marshall Applewhite. This is the one that has very clear T-square patterns for 2 other cult leaders. No clear hard aspect patterns, but Mars is directly opposition that Mercury-Jupiter midpoint with only an 8-minute orb, and it's in golden angle. It's the golden angle, 137.5, the primary, most important aspect, most important golden mean aspect. And it's very tightly. I created a set of golden mean aspects with small, medium, and large orbs. I believe the medium is about a good one to use. If you use the large orbs, you end up with a lot of lines. And look how thick the lines are, because the aspects are very exact. Even with the small orbs, these lines are very thick. So there it is, all in golden mean aspect. Now, we add Ceres into the mix. And we already saw that Ceres is at the Mercury-Mars midpoint. And what Ceres does is it takes this 137.5 and divides it into 2 pieces. So this is called the, in the aspects, with the way that Landscheidt describes it, he would call the 137.5 a G1 conjunction. In other words, it's golden mean 1, first level. And then we take this level, we divide it in half, and we get the G2 conjunction. So this is the G2 conjunction. Very dynamic and powerful configuration. Ceres, Mars, or maybe that's a G1 opposition. I'm getting mixed up. It's saying that Mercury and Jupiter are in a very important golden mean. Mercury and Jupiter. I'm sorry. Mercury and Jupiter are in a G2 conjunction. This is a golden mean of the golden mean. So this configuration of Mars, Mercury, and Jupiter is the golden angle, or G1 conjunction, and the G2 conjunction. The Ceres, the blue, means it's opposition. Because it's opposition, the midpoint. The midpoint of the Mercury-Mars would be here. This is opposition, and so it's an opposition to the G1 level. Anyway, there's some technicalities about how we name these things. That's not important. The important thing is, oh my God, Applewhite has a stunning supersymmetry pattern made of golden mean aspects. There's also some additional little things coming off this, like Pluto is in golden mean aspects to Ceres and Jupiter, and Mars, a thin dashed line to Mars. It's not in a golden mean aspect to Mercury. But there's another 4-planet pattern here of Pluto, Mars, Ceres, and Jupiter. They're also in golden mean aspects. It's not symmetrical like this. This is symmetrical, making the midpoints as well. Pluto adds a little bit more to this, is what I'm saying. But the primary powerful thing is this supersymmetry pattern made of planets in very tight golden mean aspects to each other. The supersymmetry plus the factor golden mean aspects, and that the midpoint structures have tiny orbs, the golden mean aspects have tiny orbs, the whole thing is very exact, that's getting a little more impressive. So we can do this. We can expand our role for a cult leader to be 4 or more planets conjunct in 43 vibe, or 43 times 43, or in a golden mean supersymmetry pattern with 4 or more planets in 43 vibe. And adding supersymmetry and golden mean is something we've done before. It's not a new, wild, crazy idea. So I would say we've got 2 possible models. One where we have only 3 out of the 4 matched. The other where we include this additional rule and we describe all 4. My personal preference, based on analyzing previous research and how vibrational astrology works, is we add this rule that if there are 4 or more planets in a golden mean supersymmetry pattern, means they're in golden mean aspect and supersymmetry in 43 vibe, that can also incline to be a cult leader. There's our rules for all 4. We did it. Hooray, we did it. Does it meet our 3 criteria? Fairly well. Would I like it to be even simpler? Would it be nicer if Marshall Applewhite did not have midpoints, a golden mean supersymmetry pattern, but instead also had art? It would be nice, but the reality is that this is what's needed to explain all 4. It's still simple. It's still elegant. This is what knowledge discovery in astrology often looks like. You can take 4 charts, find rules that fit all 4. Use your Vedic astrology. Use your Hellenistic astrology. Use your modern Western astrology. Use it. Do it. See if you can come up with something. I hope you can. Because if you can find a set of rules similar to what I found using the vibrational astrology, we combine those rules using, say, Vedic astrology or whatever you do with the vibrational astrology, we're going to have a much more powerful model that's going to get replicated much more easily. We'll have more of the variables involved. I'm not even using houses, signs, rulers, etc. Wow. Or fixed stars, or any number of things. So a lot of people will say, oh, that's great, but my system, well, use your system. This is not a debate or something to argue about. This is a fun thing. We've got these 4 charts. Have fun seeing if you can build a model. Let's hope we get more models. I don't care what theoretical framework they use. And then when we collect more data, maybe usually some ideas in the model work and some don't work as well. Sometimes we have to add more ideas. The model gets better and better and better. There it is. We have created a good model. And here's our rules. A cult leader has 43 vibe or 43 times 43. That's simple. Only 2 vibes. 43 and 43 times 43. What's happening in those vibes? Conjunction, square, or trine aspects between any of the following planets: Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn. Also, Mars, Ceres, Neptune, and Pluto to each other or to the other 4 planets are also important. So we're going to give more weight to Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, a little bit less weight to Mars, Ceres, Neptune, and Pluto. Any aspects, conjunction, square, or trine, that's one way of explaining it. I'm going to explain it this way. Conjunction, square, or trine aspects in either of those vibrations, or the golden mean supersymmetry pattern involving these planets. I'm going to keep the rules simple and just say it that way, that any of this can happen in either 43 or 43 times 43 to keep the rules simple. That's one way to put all that information together into a model. Now we have a model. We have a formula. We can create an astro signature. We can create a control group. We can work with it. Now, if we want to create control groups and do statistical analysis, we need at least 20 or 30 charts is typically what's recommended. So when you get to the test phase, you need more data. But at least we can build a model that has more confidence than any previous models according to modern research methods. Because according to modern research methods, removing selection bias, using all of the data available to us, which is the 4 charts, fitting that with the requirements that I explained, the 3 requirements that I explained in the first video in the series, this gives us greater confidence than just whatever charts you happen to present based on your experience as an astrologer. Let me read this last paragraph. Developing models that can be validated in a strict hypothesis test is not easy, and the process is long. If you feel that all we have done is you might say, gee, Santino, all you did is create a reasonable model. You didn't prove anything. We don't use the word proof anyway, but people like to say it that way. Well, keep in mind this. Reasonable models based on the principles of modern research methods are almost never developed in astrology. This is new territory. This is not being done. And real research requires enormous effort. That's the way it is. You build it, you test it. I'm just one person working on this. Look what universities and research institutes have. Major undertaking to make discoveries. We have made good progress. This is the realistic way in which evidence-based astrology makes progress. It's not like snapping your fingers, waving a magic wand, and presto, bam, I proved stuff. You develop it bit by bit by bit. But we did it. We have a formula that meets our criteria for building a model. Now, in part 3, I'm going to share with you a 5th cult leader. I had only 4 to start with. As I was reading the biographies and creating this model for the 4, I found out that Marshall Applewhite had a partner. It was Applewhite and this lady, Bonnie Nettles. She was like his right-hand man or right-hand woman, however you want to say it. She was right there with the whole thing. She has AA data as well. Unfortunately on the hour, but it is from a birth certificate or birth record. So now let's test our ideas with Bonnie Nettles. She's a little bit different because she's not the leader in the same way that the other 4 are. She's an essential asset to Marshall Applewhite. Would he have done his cult without her? I think the answer is yes. But she plays an extremely important part. So she's maybe, in a way, she is a cult leader, but I think the way that she differs from the other cult leaders is that she's not as involved in this collective movement from the start as Marshall Applewhite. Part 3, we're going to analyze Bonnie Nettles. We're going to see that her chart is also a little bit different, and we're going to have to expand our rules again. But her situation, her position is a little bit different from Jim Jones, Charles Manson, DeMambro, who were clear the leader of the pack and directed everything. She's in a slightly different role, or significantly different, I think, and I think that's reflected in the way the charts work. Very, very fascinating. The synastry, this astrological chemistry between them and the roles they play, very fascinating. It may take even 2 videos to cover all of what I want to tell you about Bonnie Nettles, but for now, we have created a good astro signature for cult leaders. In part 3, we will see what's going on with Bonnie Nettles. Thank you very much for listening, my friends. God bless. Namaste.